Welcome to today's Fireside Chat with Jesse Johnson. I'm joined today by the Honor Capital team, Amber Benavides, Chief Credit Officer and Partner, Jay Houston, Co-Founder and President, and Brian Slipka, Co-Founder and CEO. Thank you, Honor Capital team, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Brian, I want to start off with you, if you don't mind. Do you mind taking a couple minutes just to kind of introduce Honor Capital to the marketplace for me?
Yeah, well, Honor Capital is really a compilation of a few of us, the three of us that are here today, but also eventually a few others that we're adding to the team that really, I guess, over the course of the last 15, 20 years that many of us have been in the industry of equipment finance and leasing, started to notice a trend and a need for, a more private, more flexible form of finance. As the industry has evolved and developed, certainly over the last few years, with rates being so cheap and bank money being so cheap, we started to see a need in the marketplace for an alternative form of finance, specialty finance that was provided the degree of flexibility. What was really happening in the marketplace is while bank money is cheap, a lot of the terms and conditions are rigid, and so we just understood the void in the marketplace that our clients were asking for, that we believe we can service and deliver. And then on a personal note, I had a great run at the previous finance company that Shay and I and Amber were all at one point or another, and I'd gotten into some other businesses and had taken on some positions of leadership there from afar. And so when I left the leasing world for a couple of years, that void in the marketplace that I just spoke of was what spoke to me loud and clear. And that void was really an obvious one. So when we got the band back together, so to speak, here with Honor Capital, our focus was to clearly fill that void for business owners, CFOs, CEOs, and financial decision makers.
And I can see that just in my time in working with the three of you and a few other people that I met at your office a couple of weeks ago. It's that relationship that you guys have with your customers, and that can be limited depending on the type of organization that you're from or that you're with. So I definitely agree. You guys have assembled quite a rock star team there, and I'm excited to see what you guys do with it, Brian. So thank you. I guess from a timing perspective, you say you've been out, of leasing for a couple of years. What made you decide to do this in the middle of a pandemic?
That's a great question, and I think for us, Shay and I had lived through the recession and had actually thrived as an alternative form of finance and specialty finance, and so we really didn't feel like the pandemic impaired us at all. In fact, we felt like now was the time more than ever, because there's going to be basically a flight to quality of relationship. That happens all the time, and whenever there's strife, what do people turn to? They turn to those they can trust. They turn to people that they, in relationships that they value. And so we felt like the pandemic, if anything, strengthened our case to launch Honor Capital.
I mean, I'd add to that, Jesse. I think right now is actually, I would argue, a perfect time to do it, because, I can't think of, in all my years, 25 years in IT and finance, I can't think of a year, more so than 2020, that had more uncertainty, right? That had more risk, inherent risk in the market. And what we're providing our clients is a way to diversify their capital in a very relationship-driven process. We talked about covenant-based relationships. We're successful when they're successful. And to bring that in to a marketplace like we're in right now, where companies need capital, there's uncertainty that's out there, and you've got banks that have consolidated to a point where there's just, if it's not going to fit the box. I think the timing's perfect for us to come in and start this business.
I agree 100%. I mean, based on just what I've known you guys in the last 3 or 4 months, the relationship side of things is definitely going to carry you guys through. So thank you for that, Brian. Thank you, Shay. Amber, kind of switching over to you. So from an operational perspective, what do you see as the biggest challenge in a startup organization?
There's so many aspects that go into a startup, from systems, workflow, legal, structuring your entities, tax. There's so many things to consider when you're starting up. And I think people get into it thinking you're just going to start bringing in sales and the rest will follow. There's a lot that goes into it when you start it up that have to be in place to make this seamless, to make a streamlined process, and to really give a product to our customers that they'll keep coming back for and that we can turn around quickly for them. I'm sure Shay and Brian can add to that as well.
I mean, from a sales guy perspective, if they sell it, you can do it, right? I mean, that's the way this world works.
Yeah, the systems are a large part of it too, just so we can streamline our process and make it seamless as possible for our customers and clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's being part of a startup, the one thing that I think we all can agree on is that there's a lot of uncertainty day to day. You're building things from scratch. And, the one thing I always tell everybody and that people know about me is that, bias for action and be willing to fail and be willing to make aggressive mistakes. And, that's why I have Shay and Amber here, because, if it wasn't for them, I'd probably get myself into a lot of trouble, more or less just being too aggressive, because I want to serve the customer, right? And, as we've all talked about, honor is that old English spelling of honor. And the reason why is the U is a reminder to us, but also to the customer, to our stakeholders and shareholders, all of our employees, that it's about the customer. And so it's a servant leadership mantra that we want to take to market, but sometimes that over aggressiveness can we got to be careful. So that's as Amber stated, the ambition, we don't want to get too far ahead of the reality of the systems and operations and excellence that we want to provide our customers. Because ultimately, being too aggressive, can hurt all of us.
Well, I think, Jesse, too, obviously in our business as a startup, one of the hardest things is access to capital. And and that's why we were intentional with the way that we've built the foundation of Honor Capital to address that issue. So we really are about bringing the best of both worlds. We came from a bank-owned sort of environment where people didn't have to worry about stability, access to capital, deal size, and yet there's restrictions that came with that. And we've come into an environment where we've dealt with those restrictions. We're privately held. We don't have the same sort of regulatory issues or other constraints that come with being part of a publicly owned bank. But we also, through the partnerships that we form, have the access to capital to partners of ours, and then some others as well, where we don't have to worry about that. So I think we've addressed probably the biggest issue as it relates to a startup in this industry. The other components of it, we're sort of learning as we go as it relates to systems and process and those types of things. The good news in that is that we can design all of that around the needs of the client. And, we're not dealing with legacy systems or data conversion or things that would maybe prohibit companies from doing it the right way. We get to do it the right way the first time. Yep.
No, and that's a good point. And that's a limitation that a lot of people, unfortunately, are in, because they have those legacy systems, and it allows them to not be as creative in structuring deals or aggressive. However, everyone needs they need a check, right, Amber? And that's what you're there for. So when Brian and Shay get too aggressive, they come to you and you kind of be like, okay, guys, time out. Let's think about that.
I just find a way to get it done. It may not be exactly how they like it, but I'll find a way to get it done.
No, and I saw that in motion a couple of weeks ago, and I was in your office, and it was great to be a part of that kind of environment there that you guys are building. And I'm just trying to think here, the culture that you guys are bringing to your organization. It's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think you guys pretty much answered the majority of the questions that I have. I kind of like to end these things by just saying, like, why Honor Capital over, the other independents in your space. I know you guys have already pretty much answered that, but if there's any additional stuff you'd like to tell people, feel free to do so now.
Do you want to start?
Go ahead.
From my perspective, Jess, you'll probably get three different answers. First of all, from the three of us. But the way I look at it is, there's lots of good options that are out there right now. I think the market's flush with capital and people who want to put capital to work. When I make decisions on who I want to partner with, the people that I work with and the culture and the purpose behind that particular business or that individual, what drives them, what motivates them, is a big influencer for me in terms of who I choose to work with. And we've kind of shared with you the reason for the name of the company. We've shared with you, the servant-based culture, servant leadership that we look to employ here at Honor, and so that's what we bring to the marketplace. I think that's distinct and different. The idea that we have the best of both worlds, the access to capital, but in a private environment where we can be very creative in deal structuring, very creative in underwriting, and you put over top of that a just maniacal focus on covenant-based relationships. That's unique. And I also believe, it's not just me, Brian, and Amber, that we've got a team, we've got a CFO, we've got a general counsel that have perhaps as much experience as we do in this industry. I would put the experience of our team, our management team, up against anybody out there. Even though technically we're a new company, we've been doing this a long, long time. So those are some of the reasons why I think Honor stands out.
Yeah, my only add to that, and well said by Shay, would be, we empathize with you, the business owner, with you, the CFO, with you, the financial decision maker. We empathize with you, and again, the reason why we started Honor Capital is to be more client focused and servant based. And Shay and I we're in a very fortunate position in our careers and lives where we weren't doing this to make more money. We weren't doing this to realize incredible amounts of additional success. We were doing it because we wanted to have fun doing what we were doing. We wanted to do it with people that we could see ourselves spending time with on a daily basis, and that includes customers. And we knew good things would happen. We knew that our talents and skill sets would be able to deliver value for clients and be able to do it in a way that delivers for all the stakeholders. And so, to us, it transcends the transaction, transcends just being a for-profit company. It's all the other stuff.
And that's another thing I appreciate about your group there, Brian, and Shay just said. It's you do the right thing by the customer, the rest of the stuff will come. And that's unfortunately not enough people understand that. So.
Yeah. So do we close with the question or with the bourbon? This is the fireside chat, right?
What time is it?
It's about that time.
Yeah.
I should probably send over some bourbon for these, but that was kind of all I had right there. So Amber, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I would say that's it. I mean, well, what did you say there, Shay?
About the bourbon? I think he is asking you